Hey, what's up? It's Gil, host of the Mindbuzz podcast and stand-up comedian. I'm here at the beautiful Coin Academy on Psilo Talk.
Oh yeah, it's that time. What's up, everybody? Animal here, and you are watching Psilo Talk podcast. Today, we have my good friend, Gil. He is a stand-up comic and a podcaster from the Mindbuzz. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, man?
Chilling.
What's going on, dude? Thanks for having me.
Just vibing to this rockabilly, bro.
Yeah, well, this is psychobilly.
Psychobilly. What's the difference?
So the difference between rockabilly and psychobilly is it's pretty much the same thing, but psychobilly,
It just sounds cooler.
Yeah, it sounds cooler. They have cooler haircuts, by the way.
There you go.
And psychobilly is just
like
a lot
the
faster.
flat top versus the spiky? Is that what makes the difference?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have one, but I need to shave the sides.
I know. I saw.
You seen it?
Yeah, I seen it, bro. Yeah, you got cool hair, bro.
Yeah, thanks, man. I gotta go back to my barber to cut it. You know how barbers are. If you go to a different barber, they get
mad, bro.
They get mad, dude.
Like, where you been at?
Yeah,
they're like another girlfriend, bro.
Exactly, dude. People,
where have you been?
Yeah, women don't understand that, but men, we go through that too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
of course.
That's funny, brother. Well, welcome to the show, man. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah,
I think the last time I saw you was when I was on your show.
Yeah,
that was like almost a year ago. That was like
almost
10 months ago or something like that.
Yeah, but
man, that's crazy. It's a trip.
Yeah, dude.
You know, a lot of the stuff that we talked about on that show, I'm doing now, you know, which I'm tripping out. It's kind of crazy how when you speak things into existence and you see them come to life, it's a trip, you know. So thank you again for coming on the show, brother. I actually get the chance to interview you this time, though.
Right.
How does it feel?
The tables have turned.
How does it feel being on the other side?
It feels great, dude. I feel like I don't have a lot of time to talk about myself like weekly, but going on and doing other people's podcasts, I feel like I get the chance to do that. So.
Yeah, I was looking at your count of how many episodes you have, and you've done a shitload of interviews, bro. So how many are you at now? You're like at 250 or something like that?
We're at 238, I believe. Yeah, about 238.
That's a trip, man.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious in finding out why people do what they do. You know, I say this again and again, but I'm a collector of interesting stories and interesting individuals, and you are one of those interesting individuals. So I want to hear your story of how you got to this point where now you're doing stand-up comedy, and you've been doing the podcasting for some time. So I'm curious to figure out what was the catalyst to make you decide, like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a stand-up comic. So why don't we go into it? So when did you start, you know, your stand-up comedy journey, and how's it going so far?
The stand-up comedy journey started when I was young, actually, but actually doing it, it's been over a year now.
Okay.
I've been practicing, you know, going to different open mics, doing smaller showcases from the past year. It's been quite a journey, dude.
Yeah.
You mentioned talking about, you know, doing things and talking to them in existence, right?
Yeah.
Like manifesting.
Yeah.
Doing stand-up comedy, that's my talking things to in existence. I didn't even know I was a fan of comedy up until a year ago.
Really?
Yeah. Growing up as a kid, I've always had DVDs and TV shows, and you know, I grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Same here, brother.
And the TV was my babysitter.
Yeah.
You know? And Comedy Central was my babysitter. Dave Chappelle was my babysitter. Yeah. The original Latin Kings of Comedy was my babysitter. So up until about a year, I really thought about what really shaped me as a person, and it was always stand-up. It was always comedy. All my favorite actors were stand-up comedians before they got into acting. Yeah. All my favorite shows, all my favorite movies are all comedies. So I just put two and two together. I talked about doing stand-up for about a year on the podcast, and at a certain point you start talking about things that you want to do, and it just excites you. And I was like, I found an open mic in the city of Bell about a year ago. found out that they had an open mic, signed up. I was terrible for the first 5 minutes. Yeah, I was just awful. Some of my jokes were okay, but I had to go through the process, and that's what I love right now.
Did you start off like every stand-up comedy talking about like just poop jokes?
No, the material that I used were just like jokes about my family, about my sister. God rest her soul, but they were just material like that, dude, just about my home life, about my dad, about my mother, about just things that really I thought about that I thought were funny. Some were terrible. Like I tried some political stuff, didn't really work. I tried some poop stuff, some ass stuff, didn't really work for me. I just had to find out what worked for me.
So what is it that's working so far?
What's working for me is like a lot of my girlfriend relationship material, dude. Yeah. Believe it or not, growing up Hispanic, growing up a no sabo kid, growing up poor, stuff like that.
What's funny is it's comedic relief. When you really, I'd say this all the time, when you look at life on a microscopic level, it's a drama and it's a tragedy.
Oh yeah.
But when you look at life from a bigger perspective, it's a comedy. It's funny. When horrible shit happens to you while it's happening, it's not funny. It sucks ass. But later you think about it, you're like, let me find what was funny about that. And you could laugh about like the hardship that you went through. And I remember when the Latin Kings of Comedy came out, and the first time I heard George Lopez, I could not stop laughing. I was just rolling on the floor, and like I loved everything about him, the way he moved, the way he talked, the delivery to his jokes, but more importantly, I connected with his jokes. I understood everything he was saying because he was talking about my life. He was talking about my culture. He's talking about my upbringing, so I think on a base level, the best comedy is that which is authentic, true, honest to your life, and that connects to other people. So that makes sense that just the funny shit that happens in relationships is what you're getting laughs out of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you look at the emoji of comedy, it's always like the happy face and the sad face. Without tragedy, you won't have comedy, and without comedy you won't have tragedy. I think they go both hand in hand.
It's the duality of life. You can't have one without the other. You can't experience joy without experiencing pain and sadness. So I get it, and that's probably why most comics are just tortured souls.
Absolutely.
They're all depressed and well, the good ones anyways.
No, we're different. I've been saying this often about comedy and comedians. I love comedy, but I hate comedians.
There's only like 4 according to Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, four good ones out of the well, in LA, right? He said something about LA,
something like that.
Oh my god. But that guy's in Austin creating his own LA out there anyways.
Have you performed at any big comedy?
Not yet.
What is like your end game? What's your goal with the comedy? Do you plan on having like a special? Do you want to be a touring comic all over, the US? Like, cause everybody has different goals. Some people's goals just, hey, let me just do one show and like, hey, I did it. I worked in a gym for a long time, and there would be people that would come in and their goal is just to do one bodybuilding competition. Like, I just want to do this one time just to get in the best shape of my life and say, hey, look, here's a picture, I did it. And I think a lot of people have that mentality when it comes to the arts. I want to do one film. I want to do one stand-up set. I want to do one thing one time just to say I did it, to express myself. But other people is different. It's like they need to do it all the time and they want to do it as their career. Is this something that you want to treat as a career, or tell me what your thoughts are? I
would love to do all of that, to tour, to do headlining spots, to making movies, to podcasting. The end game here is to entertain, to make people laugh. And if I can do that across the country with my story and my jokes, I've already won, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's being a touring comic and podcasting, because I can't leave that out. Like there would be no Gil the stand-up comic without podcasting, because I felt like I've really found myself through the Mindbuzz and through podcasting.
Well, let's talk about that. What made you want to start podcasting? How long have you been doing it, by the way?
I've been podcasting for about like 4 years now. I'm going on 4 years, man.
And what made you want to do it?
Pure boredom.
Really? I got nothing going on. Let me just freaking start a podcast.
And that's the thing. I've always loved comedy, which I didn't know. And I've always loved radio, which I had no clue about. And when the pandemic happened, because that's when I first started the podcast, was like me and 100,000 other podcasts.
Yeah. During the pandemic was when you started.
During the pandemic.
Okay. Yeah. So now I see what you mean by boredom. You're literally stuck in home.
So what I found out, dude, is I've always wanted to do something artistic, but I just never knew what that was until I found podcasting, which is weird. My cousin, I talk about this all the time. My cousin found we're coming down off of some mushrooms.
There you go.
We were talking about the stoned ape theory, and I asked him, "Dude, where did you get this from?" Right? And he was like, "I heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast." And I was like, "The what? Joe Rogan has a podcast?"
Yeah.
What are you talking? You mean that bald guy from Fear Factor?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? He pulls up YouTube and shows me the podcast where he's talking to it's escaping my mind right now, but it was Joe Rogan was talking about the stoned ape theory.
Yeah.
So we watch a little bit and I was hooked. I was like, whoa, people do this? This is
And this was
wild.
during the pandemic.
This was during the pandemic.
So this is recent, 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I thought just Rogan was just the guy on Fear Factor.
Yeah, that's all you knew. You didn't even know him from the UFC.
No, I didn't know him from the UFC. I didn't know him from
podcasting 10 years at that point.
At that point, right, dude. So when he showed me this, my whole mind shifted on, okay, I got to do this. I think this is the thing to do.
Yeah.
So I started doing my research on audio interfaces, on audio workshops for the computer. I've always been a techie, like a nerd tech.
Yeah.
And always liked tinkering with audio stuff, especially.
You're a musician too, right?
I played early on in my 20s, but that's about it. I think I found my solace in podcasting and and stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried. I mean, in my early 20s, I tried to play guitar, but I was just like, I was more fascinated with the recording aspect of it, of editing. Yeah. I like that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, first off, shout out to our sponsor, Macca Bars, the leading psilocybin chocolate bar company in the world. And that's interesting that, your catalyst to starting a podcast was talking about mushrooms and apes.
Right.
And for people that don't know what you're talking about, the theory is that we evolved due to, our ancient ancestors eating some magic mushrooms and being enlightened, and to be honest, there's a lot of organisms within our body that can drastically change the way that you think and the way that you act. There's bacteria in your stomach that if there's too much or too little, it'll make you insane. You will literally go crazy.
Whoa.
And mushrooms, the way that they work is that they help your brain chemistry. It pretty much rewires it. They've actually seen it on a microscopic level of how your brain can actually rewire a lot quicker when you're, in these psychedelic experiences. So, there's some validity to it, maybe. I don't know. But it's interesting, right?
Yeah, it's wild, dude. As far as it's only a theory, and I believe they can't even call it a theory because they can't really test the theory. So it's actually more or less a hypothesis. So it's the stoned ape hypothesis.
There you go.
Yeah. But it's wild. So once I heard about that, I was like, this is cool. Simultaneously, two things happened at that point. The two things that happened were my love for researching and tinkering with podcasting and RSS feeds and being a nerd on that level.
Yeah.
But also my love for the weird, wild, mysterious thing that is psychedelics, dude. So simultaneously, I was learning and reading about the counterculture in the 1960s.
Yeah.
The research that
like the LSD and acid and
Albert Hoffman did at in the Swiss laboratory. All that during the 1960s. So it was podcasting and researching psychedelics that happened simultaneously. And 4 years ago, the Mindbuzz was going to be a psychedelic type of show to where we can talk about experiences, that we can talk about psychedelics in a controlled environment, just giving mental health type of stuff and learning the actual history of psychedelics. So that was generally the concept, but it just didn't work out that way, and it kind of
evolved into its own thing.
Evolved into what it is now, and that's
I really like podcast. Your format, by the way.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
dude.
I really like your format. Your girlfriend's the producer.
Yeah,
and you guys are a great duo. Even though she's not on camera, with her interacting, it flows really, really well. And she's like your Jamie.
She's awesome.
She pulls up like the videos. She pulls up information.
Pull it up. Let's pull it up, Amber.
Pull it up. So huge shout out to Amber.
Yeah.
Great producer. And I think you guys are a great dynamic duo.
Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was grateful to come on your show because that was the first time ever that I had been interviewed. I had been doing my interviews at that point for about a year. And, it's kind of interesting how things happen. I never thought I was going to start a podcast. That was not in my playbook, and the catalyst for me was more so Think and Grow Rich. I wanted to utilize the platform to interview people, to pull their essence and understand why they do what they do. Right. So then I can use that information for what I'm trying to do, and it's still that format. And what I tell people is that if you ever really want to accomplish something big, you need to go through some hardship. And if you overcome that hardship, then you come back with power. And that power, it's an elixir, And
wait, hold on. What's an elixir?
An elixir is a potion. It's a power. It's in a little vial. It's either neon green or purple, and you drink the elixir, and a wizard will give you, like, here, Gil, drink this elixir. It'll make you 10 feet taller.
Elixir sounds cool, dude.
Invincible. It'll make you strong. It'll make you smarter, right? And I tell people this: you need to find your elixir, your power, and nobody in this world can find it but you, because due to the circumstances of your life, I could never live your life. You could never live mine. I'm never gonna experience the experiences that you have, and you're never gonna experience the experience that I have. So what you have is unique, right? And the thing about the artist is that the artist has that power. They have that elixir, and they give it to the world in the format of their art. But I'm really curious in hearing your thoughts on psychedelics, because for me growing up, I was afraid of them. I was afraid to try anything that was going to make me not be in control.
Right.
I guess I was a bit of a control freak.
Okay.
And I was scared of them. And the first psychedelic experience I had kind of opened something in me, and it made me extremely curious to want to dive deeper into it. So why don't you tell us a little about your thoughts on psychedelics, and then maybe your first experience, what it was, and what you pulled from that.
So I'll start off with my first experience. My first experience was, I don't think I really understood what these things were. And the first psychedelic experience was a tab of acid. And I didn't really understand the concept of like set and setting, which is your mindset and the setting or the environment. I didn't know any of that. I just wanted to see cool things, dude. I just want to see cool things, man. I just want to see colors, bro. That's really what it was. And I really didn't get that. Maybe I didn't take enough. But I went back to the person that I got it from. I was like, hey, like, what's the thing with this, man? Like, it didn't really work. So I got more. Again, I don't know if I took it right. I was thinking about all these things in my head. Maybe we didn't take it right. Maybe we didn't take enough. Maybe we need 2, 3 of these things. I don't know. But I kind of put it on the back burner for like 10 years, maybe.
How old were you that first time?
I was in my early 20s, I want to say. Fairly early in my 20s.
So then you take a 10-year break.
I take a good...
you clean the palate.
Right. And then these things just landed in my pocket. They just... I didn't necessarily was looking for them or had anybody looking for me for them, but they just ended up, hey, you wanna try this? And I was like, okay, cool, I'll try it. I'll see how it goes. The last time kind of sucks. I don't know, but it was magical, and it's crazy how they call them magic mushrooms because it was completely out of this world type of experience. And then from then on, because I have a child too. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it was weird because the same experience that I felt having, like watching my son, being born, that was the same feeling and the same out of body experience felt like a psychedelic experience. Wow. And for me, how I think about the psychedelic experience is this weird experience that you feel from a catalyst like magic mushrooms, ayahuasca, or LSD. But I felt like this experience is more than just yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, most people that have a psychedelic experience, or a lot of people, when they come back out of this journey, they have similar feelings of being connected to everything. Like we're all one, you know. It's kind of like a hippie thing, but it's an experience that a lot of people have, that it's like we're all connected.
Yeah. So from there, it was this weird thing, and I've also did some studies on like Ram Dass. He's Albert Hoffman. No, not Albert Hoffman. So Ram Dass and I'm forgetting the other guy, but they did the studies in what's that law school in New York. I'm terrible. I don't even know why I'm bringing this up. I don't even know.
The Mayo Clinic?
No, it's a law school. Harvard.
Oh, law school. Sorry,
Harvard. So there was these 2 scientists and psychology teachers back in the 1960s that were doing these studies with magic mushrooms. One of them was Ram Dass. He had a professional name before, but after that, he started going by Ram Dass. He started being like this type of healer and stuff.
He's like a shaman or something.
Yeah, years after he did all these studies at Harvard. But what interested me in him was him, and there was these other shamans. They talked about reaching the psychedelic experience without any catalyst, which I thought was wild, because I don't know if you know this, you probably know, dude, that we have DMT. Everybody has DMT.
Yeah. So I was actually going to talk about that, because I've never talked about my my ayahuasca experience, and I just had my first experience with the medicine, and what it does, it produces a bunch of DMT within your body. There you go. And like you were saying, all humans have the ability of producing DMT. So what I was telling you earlier, the elixir, the way that you find the elixir of your life is at the brink of death. So unfortunately, the way that we produce DMT is when your body is producing so much fucking stress. Right at the point of death, when you die, is when your body produces the most amount of DMT.
Isn't that wild, dude?
Yeah, so you can produce DMT and have a psychedelic experience without any psychedelics. The way that you do it is that you have to push your body to the limit. So I do this on a weekly basis. I go in the sauna for 30 minutes. Try not to leave that sauna at all. The first 5 minutes is like, okay, 10 minutes. Yeah. 15 minutes, you're like, oh, I'm dying. I need to get that hot. 20 minutes, you are like everything in your body's telling me to get the hell out of this sauna. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to faint. I need more water. A little person opens the door. I'm like, oh my God, it feels so good. A little air for 2 seconds.
Right.
On the 29th minute, you're just like, your body has so much stress. So there's like tribes that do like these hot rooms where they go in there. They have spiritual psychedelic experiences because their body's producing DMT. There's people that have been to near-death experiences where they were climbing a mountain and they got stuck in the cold, and they have these crazy experiences. So we have the ability of producing DMT.
Oh, yeah.
And it's at the brink of death, unfortunately.
Is it at the brink of death or stress?
It's stress.
It's stress, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're a person that is not prone to stress, I feel like you can reach that point, right? Like if you don't handle stress properly, you can get that at a certain point, right?
Yeah. People go into nervous breakdowns all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
they call it, schizophrenia or whatever.
You're not having a nervous breakdown. You're just having a
spiritual psychedelic experience,
a spiritual awakening. Okay, so just hang on, hold tight, take deep breaths. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, so I'll tell you about my ayahuasca experience because I haven't really talked about it, but. I was a little bit scared going into it, but at the same time, I felt like I was ready because I had gone through a pretty drastic change in my life. I left essentially a career that I had in commercial real estate. I was managing commercial office buildings for about 10 years. And I had this calling that I needed to pursue. Something in me was telling me, like, you have to share this story to the world. You have to share this story. And I chose the format of film, So I left that and I put all of my focus into creating a film and to having a career in the entertainment industry. I call it my third act. This is what I want to do from now until the day that I die. I want to be a film producer and a podcaster and an entertainer. I've had a lot of titles in my life. I tell people this, you go into the bar, you're the barista, bartender, right, podcaster, real estate agent. They're just titles, but at your core, what are you? And I would always try to figure out, what the hell am I? And I figured it out. I'm an artist and a philosopher, and everything that I do is a representation of my art and my philosophy. So I wanted to showcase my art and my philosophy in my film. So I felt that I was going through this drastic change, that I needed some healing, right? And the opportunity came to me. It wasn't like I was looking for it. I wasn't like, where can I go do some ayahuasca? But through people that I knew, the opportunity came. Like, hey, we have we flew in a shaman from Peru, so he's legit. And the guy owns like his own healing center in Peru in the middle of the fucking jungle. And they rented. Well, one of the people that participated owned the estate that we had it on in Temecula. It was a beautiful estate, and it was 3 ceremonies that I partook. And I talked a lot to the shaman because I wanted to understand, like, what is it that I'm doing? What is this thing? Who the hell are you? Like, can I even trust you, dude? They were all giving me. Yeah, they were all cool people, but in preparation for the medicine, you really, really need to be ready. So there's like a specific diet. There's no salt, no sugar, no meat. It's pretty much, you're eating very little, and it's all like vegetables.
The day of?
No, you do it for like a month before.
Oh, you do it for a month?
Yeah. The longer, the better. But yeah. No sex, no smoking, no drinking, no nothing. Uh-huh. You can't even, you're not even supposed to like listen to certain like music and certain imagery. Interesting. You're really cleansing your spirit, your body, your mind in preparation for a medicine. And what it is, because people have this, concept of like ayahuasca being like this psychedelic where you're going to trip out and you're going to see all these things. Yeah. And it doesn't work that way. It's a medicine that will give you what you need to heal at that moment in time.
Interesting.
So for me, I went into it pretty ready. you know, and I didn't really have any expectations other than I thought I was gonna have like a trip, and I thought I was gonna, I heard people like throw up and like poop all over the zone, so I was still a little afraid, you know. And I asked the shaman, like, what is ayahuasca? How do you make it? You know, where does it come from? And he told me, he said, what ayahuasca, the way that they make it is ayahuasca itself is a vine. It's a vine. Right. This is actually it right here. It looks like that. This is just like a piece that they cut off. So imagine this was a giant stick and they just cut it and they made this little necklace, but it's a vine. And they take a bunch of this vine and they cut it into like a bunch of pieces just like this. And they put it in this giant pot that's like, you know, 4 feet tall, and they layer it a bunch of ayahuasca, and then on top of that they layer it with a plant. It's a leafy plant called wachuma, and then they stack it, and then they stack ayahuasca, ayahuasca from the bottom all the way to the top. Whoa. Right? And then they cook that shit, and when they cook it, at the bottom of the pot, it's like the elixir, the medicine starts to produce. It's a liquid. It looks kind of like it's kind of like a mixture of red and purple, like, and it's really thick, and it's like, it looks kind of like dark, like almost like blood, and it tastes like wood, pretty much. It tastes like charcoal and wood mixed together. It's a little grainy a little bit, but that liquid that produces at the bottom, when they finish cooking it, they take out all the wachuma and ayahuasca, and they drain all that liquid. And then they do it again. They put that liquid back in and they stack it again. And it's like I think it's like a 5-day process that they do it. And what happens is that medicine, when you drink it, takes about 30 to 40 minutes to hit you. But
what does it taste like to you?
It tastes like wood.
Tastes like wood?
Like a combination of wood and charcoal.
Like earthy?
Very earthy. Like you're literally biting into the ground and drinking the ground.
Like dirt water?
It doesn't taste bad.
No?
It doesn't taste bad. But it's like, it feels like you're if you were to drink a tree, that's what it tastes like. If
you were to lick a tree for 3 hours.
Yeah. And what it does, it produces DMT.
Whoa.
And what the shaman does, it has to be done at night, because you're like in this limbo between being awake and asleep. You can't fall asleep, because if you fall asleep, you stop the messages that you need to hear and the healing that you need at that time, right? And it's a circle, because there was about 10 people that participated in it, and you're all laying down on like a little cushion, and you have a little bucket to throw up in if you feel like throwing up. And it's very, very dark. There's one candle in the middle when he starts the ceremony. He starts off with a blessing, a prayer, and then he asks everybody individually come up to him, and he gives you the medicine, right? And then the whole ceremony, the shaman is working. He is singing. He is performing. They're called icaros. They're songs that help the good energy come in and the bad energy out. So he's performing these songs, and he's performing different things that he does to cast out all the bad juju, the bad spirits. And for me, I did have psychedelic experience. I started to see things, and it took me to a place that I hadn't been to in a long time.
Really?
I hadn't even thought about this.
So you weren't moving around, you weren't walking around.
I was sitting there.
You were sitting or laying?
It was a combination of both, because it was one of those cushions that goes up like that, so you could sit up or you can lay down. Gotcha. So I started off sitting.
What kind of clothes were you wearing?
Did you just comfortable clothes. On the last day, the last ceremony, I wore some all white ceremonial garments.
So there were how many times did you do this?
3 nights.
Oh, so it was 3 nights consecutively.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's cool. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was just this one time.
Typically, when you do ayahuasca, you do it. That's a small ceremony, 3. Usually it's like 5. And they'll do like 5 ceremonies, and then they'll like wait 1 or 2 days, and they'll do like another 3 or something. So it's and it's a process, because healing is like, you don't heal in one session. You know, it's like working out or whatever. Yeah. You got to do it. But for me, what I looked at it was like, it healed what I needed to heal in order for me to get to the next level of my life, because it brought me back to my childhood, and it brought me back to me realizing why everything that had happened in my life had happened. And it was really fucking deep for me, you know? And the thing is that every person can make, they can decide what they want to take from their experience,
Absolutely.
And for me, it was something that I needed to heal in order for me to get to the next stage of my life. Imagine like you're walking in a desert, and then you have a jar of water, right? And it's a long ass desert, and you're trying to get somewhere, right. And then halfway there, you've run out of water. And then you're like, fuck, I'm freaking starved. And you're thirsty, you're hungry, and you're like about to die. Like you're like feeling you're gonna die. And then magically you find a place that there's water, and you're like, oh my God, there's water. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Now I can continue on my path. That's what it was for me. It was like I was running on the last fucking fumes that I had. Wow. And that experience allowed me to let go a lot of the resentment and pain that I had in my life that had led to a lot of the fucking stupid shit that I've done, and it healed me, right? So it was a very positive experience for me,
You want to hear my philosophy when people say that they had a bad experience on psychedelics or with anything, magic mushrooms, weed, or LSD. My theory, and it's not really a theory because you can't test it, but
my hypothesis.
No, my thing on that is when people say, "Oh, I had a bad trip," and it sounded like you had a good trip.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think that there's no bad trip, there's no good trip. There's just an experience that in your frame, that within your mindset, you can change that. It can be, there's no good or bad. It's only an experience, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that if you felt like you did have a bad experience, that's something that you needed to see or you needed to process. And none of it's not all bad and it's not all good. I think it's just an experience that you need to see, like within your mindset. I feel that your mindset, there's this period, I think it's called a transitional period or something like that.
Yeah.
After, right?
Yeah.
To where you think about your experience and you start using whatever you learned.
Yeah.
Into life. It's not called transitional period. It's called perception something. I don't know. It's using whatever you learned in your life, using whatever you learned in that psychedelic experience, and start using what you learned in your life, in your daily life.
Yeah, I definitely felt that for like, it took a while. It was probably like 2 weeks that I was still in that stage where, and I'll tell you this much, I've done different psychedelics, ayahuasca, mushrooms, and THC, weed. I know people that smoke weed, they're like, oh, it's not psychedelic, but when you consume it, it works very differently. It's extremely psychedelic. So my first psychedelic experience was a complete accident. I wasn't trying to have a psychedelic experience. And I had never in my life smoked weed or done any edibles or done anything. I never done any type of psychedelic. Someone that I was with at the time gave me a cupcake. It was an edible cupcake. And I was like, what is this? Like, oh, it's an edible cupcake. It's like weed. I was like, oh, okay. I thought, I've seen people high, like whatever. Yeah. And I ate half of it. Whoa. I don't know if it was laced with something else or some shit,
It's so funny because when people talk about their first time eating an edible, they think it's laced with something.
Because it was that profound, brother. Let me tell you, you know what? I'll tell you. What happened was, I was being a little slut, and I was dating two girls at the same time.
That's what's up, Annabelle. That's what I'm talking about, brother.
And the girl that I went out that day, that I had that night, that edible cupcake with, I didn't want to be with her anymore, and I wanted to date the other girl seriously. So I broke up with her right when the edible hit me. So like I ate the edible. We went out to eat, and when I came back to her house, like I gave her the news, like, hey, this ain't gonna work, kind of thing. And then she started like screaming at me, like yelling and like saying all this stuff. And when she right when she started like yelling at me is when boom, it freaking hit me, bro. And I was like, what the hell's going on? I told her, I gotta go. She got out of the car and I started driving home, right? The freaking road started getting long, dude. I was like, what the fuck? And when I got on the freeway, I was so paranoid, dude, that I was like looking at the speedometer the whole time, exactly at 60 miles an hour.
You just kept it at 60
the whole time. Cars were like passing by, and I was like all scared and shit. And I was in complete fear, like the worst fear that I've ever had in my life.
Right.
And then out of nowhere, like this blanket of love and peace and tranquility hit me. And now I had the best drive of my life the rest of the drive home.
Yeah.
When I got home, the other girl that I was dating called me, and I started to profess my love to her. On the, I love you. It's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, I want to be with you, this and that. And then she said, well, what about that? She said the name of the other girl I was with. And I was like,
she knew the whole time.
What you talking about? And then I was like, what you talking about? Like, and I was like, no, I don't want to be with her. I want to be with you. And then the other girl was on the phone with her.
Whoa.
She had called her, and then they three-wayed.
They three-wayed.
And all I could think of
not a good way too.
All I could think about at this time, I don't know why, my brain was telling me, you've been here before. This has happened before. Like, this is a deja vu. And I kept on telling them, like, this has happened before. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I hang up the phone, right? And I crawl up the stairs and go into my room and get in my bed. And bro, like, I was going through, it was like the most shame, regret, fear that I've ever had, to being in complete harmony and peace. And it was like 5 minutes and 5 minutes, and then 1 minute. And then it was going like really fucking fast to where like my heart started racing like 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. And then my heart, like, it felt like I exploded into like dust. And then I felt like I was a wave. And then, bro, I went into the fucking universe. I was a cat for a century. I was a plant.
Nice.
I was God. I was the devil. I was the girls I was dating. I was like my friend. I lived everybody's life. And I was in this limbo for a millennia, brother.
That's cool.
And when I came out of this trance, I swear to you, dude, I felt like I knew all the answers to the world. Like I knew the answers to everything, but it was like a dream, to where like slowly it started to fade away. But something like I even wrote down stuff because like I have to remember this. I have to remember this. And it slowly went away. And every time that I do like edibles, I get like a little glimpse of that same experience, but I could never replicate it.
Wow,
you know? It was a freaking trip. And I'll tell you this much. There is different experiences that you have with different substances. Like the ayahuasca, the shaman kept on referring to it as a female, or her, feminine energy, you know, and it was, when I took it, it was a very in its nature. It's like grounded. It's like I kept on seeing like images of like green and like very colorful. I saw like plants and trees and like animals, and like it was very nature.
Is that why they call it like a mother ayahuasca?
Yeah, really? Mother ayahuasca, because it's a feminine energy. And like mushrooms, magic mushrooms, that is more of an astral, like you're in space. You know, ayahuasca, you're grounded, you're on earth, you're like in nature.
That's cool.
And different things, you get different experiences, you know. So that's been my experience with it. And what I use it for is not only for the psychedelic experience, but also for my creative output. I've realized that in a lot of the times where you know, partaking in these psychedelics, I get all of this information from what I call the ether, you know, from the God source.
Right.
And I've been able to create a lot of really cool shit while I'm like microdosing or while I'm taking a full dose. So do you ever pull any, you know, insight, wisdom, or any type of creative stuff while you're on a psychedelic experience?
All the time, dude. The last time was I was having this weird, and you talked about it too, about reliving like some certain moments in your life as a child.
Yeah.
I believe that has really helped me writing some of the jokes that I do, or even using comedy as a hug that I've never knew that I needed.
Yeah.
We talked about this at the top of this about, at the top of the podcast about using tragedy and creating comedy. You really don't really understand that until you really look at your jokes from another person's viewpoint, right? And I feel that with psychedelics, it shows you from a different viewpoint on how your behavior is, how you treat other people, how people treat you. It's just weird astral mirror that it can show you. And as far as creativity, man, I think it's helped for sure. There's no possibility that it can't be. You know what I mean? As far as I think internally and helping me through the process of the tragedy that I call my life, dude. Yeah. Comedy has helped me through it. And I think just getting over the fear of just daily life. There's one thing, and that's people that are anybody, doesn't matter who you are, there's one thing that people don't like doing, and that's talking in front of people. What is it called? Public speaking. Public speaking. That's probably that and the dark, dude. There's two things that I was afraid of: public speaking. Yeah. And the dark. I hate the dark, dude. Yeah. So, but I do that every day now. Public speaking, podcasting, we're talking into these microphones. It's going to stay on the internet forever. Yeah. It's going to be out there forever. This interview, what we're talking about, it's going to be out, forever. Stand up is exactly that. You're embarking an emotion out of people. You're telling people, hey, look at me for 5 minutes. I'm going to make you laugh. Yeah. It's a very difficult thing to do. Yeah. Yeah. It's, this is what I say. It's not that they're afraid of public speaking. They're afraid of the rejection, of ridicule, of failure, of, it's like, it's your insecurities that are preventing you from being seen. So what has helped me with that, dude, is I don't care. I don't care about it. Like, why am I gonna? It's so crazy. Like, play with me for a little bit here. When you start to think about somebody else's perception of you, you know how crazy that is? You know how crazy that is? Think like you're thinking about you're thinking in your mind about somebody else thinking in their own mind what they think about you. Yeah. That is weird. That is the craziest psychotic thing anybody can think about, is your perception of somebody else thinking about you. Play with me for a moment. If you think about it, that is wild. That is crazy. And when I was on this weird thing, experiencing this I'm thinking about this, about a person, they're thinking about me and how I think about them. It's just this weird, you know how like when you go into like a funny circus room with a whole bunch of mirrors? Yeah. It's exactly like that. Like it's distorted. It's distorted. And I feel that most people live their lives with that frame of mind of what people think of them. I think once you start caring a little less about somebody else's thoughts of you, that's when you can really grow. That's when the process, that's when the healing really starts, when you stop thinking about everybody's perception of you and start doing what you really want to do. It's so sad, dude. And I tell you this because I lost my mother at a very young age. I lost my dad and my sister within 6 months of each other. And what I'm doing now, man, I feel that I'm doing for all of them because they didn't have the chance. Yeah. They didn't have the chance to do. Dude, even now, like all the stuff that I've been able to do with the podcast, with the podcast network that I'm on, stand up, just doing your shows, doing other people's shows. Going to Japan, going to Sinaloa, to Mexico. I've lived 100 lives, not just for me, but I'm doing it for them, dude.
Yeah, brother. I'm proud of you, and I'm sure they're proud of you.
Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it takes a lot of courage, people that believe in themselves and step out into the world and show up. It takes a lot of courage, because most people hide in the crowd. They hide in the shadows. They don't want to be seen because they have the same fears that everybody has, and to be able to go out and do what you do, it takes a lot of courage, so I commend you on that.
Appreciate it, dude. I there's nothing else that I can see myself doing. Like I've done, like you've done. You've worked in and being like a business professional for over 10 years. I did the same thing. I lived and breathed corporate world for 10 years also, and there was this urging, there was this thing inside me that says, bro, this isn't you. Like you're living a lie, or how they say you're living a lie, whatever. It's like, dude, you can't keep going on like this. And it just, things happened in this part of my life, and that was the pandemic. A lot of people have their different views on the pandemic. I used the pandemic to slow down just a little bit, because before that I was living 10 years of office and reports and living the corporate life, where that wasn't doing anything for me. That wasn't doing anything for my soul. It was a lot of money every year, but on a human level, I wasn't being human. I wasn't living up to my full potential. And I think it's Napoleon Hill that talks about full potential and reaching your full potential. I feel that my full potential is being creative, writing, doing podcasts, being in people's videos, having fun, it's not all numbers and this and that and corporate shit. Like it's all having a great time and doing what you do and doing what you love. And that's it. And I think if I continue to do podcast and comedy, I'm never going to work a day in my life because I love it.
Hell yeah, brother. You're living the dream.
Trying to, man.
That's it, man. And I understand that itch, and I think most people, if they're being honest with themselves, they feel it too. But there's this I call it the fear barrier, and you're living your ordinary life. Like the hero, you have to become the hero of your life. And the hero's journey begins with leaving your ordinary life, leaving the Shire, if you're a hobbit, right? It's leaving the comfort of your home, leaving the comfort of your job, leaving whatever it is that you're doing for a higher calling, for something that has greater purpose. And I think a lot of people don't really have a greater purpose, which is why they feel stuck in this mundane life, this repetitive life of the same shit. And they're going to continue to do that until they die. And then at their deathbed is just a pile of regret. Why didn't I try that? Why didn't I try that? I could have been good at this. I could have been good at that. It is much better to do something and not succeed than not even try, because you never know what could have happened, right? And that fear barrier is what's stopping most people. And in today's age, it's so crazy, because whatever the hell it is that you want to do, that you feel that you have in you, there are so many opportunities and outlets, and
there's more now than there has ever been in the human history, dude.
Yeah, like before, let's say you wanted to be a radio personality because you heard Howard Stern on the radio and you thought he was hilarious and you want to do that. Well, you had to grind tooth and nail to compete for 3 jobs that there was out there, and you're not going to get Howard Stern's job. He's not going to let you get. He's still fucking doing it. He's 85. Yeah. And now anybody could get a microphone, create a format, produce something. You go on YouTube, learn about audio hardware and what mics to get and cameras, and is an endless information for you to do whatever you want to do. You want to be an actor? Go to an acting class. Mm-hmm. You want to be a producer? There's a course online. You want to be a cinematographer? There's 3 billion courses on how to be a cinematographer. You don't even have to go to film school. Right. You could literally just start, buy a entry-level camera, mm-hmm. and then build. You build little by little. You buy the first camera, you do a couple of gigs, you upgrade that camera, you do a couple of other gigs. Maybe you have to do some shit for free. Maybe you got to promote yourself. But the person that wants to do something and will not quit will succeed, you know. And it's so crazy how fast things can progress when you have some work ethic and some belief in yourself.
Absolutely. I think you just hit something right there, dude. Is about believing in yourself. I think without that, nothing could be possible in whatever you do, man. Like if you actually believe in yourself, you can, I won't say you can do anything, but you can do something with believing in yourself. And it took me a while to really understand to believe in yourself, because I needed somebody else to believe in me in order for me to believe in myself. And now, dude, whatever idea that I get that I want to do the next, do it. You know, like if there's something that I feel like, okay, that I want to do, I just do it. Like comedy shows. Okay. You want to start, how do you start doing showcases for local comedians? You start an open mic and you build a community. And we're 3 months into our open mic called Poodle Laughs in the city of Paramount. We do it every Wednesday night, 8:30 signups, 9 p.m. start. And we have over 30 comics come to our spot, do 5 minutes. And now we have this huge community that I see every Wednesday.
So when do you have this?
It is every Wednesday at Horchateria, and it's called Poodle Laughs Open Mic.
Horchateria is the name of the restaurant?
Yes, it's the name of the cafe.
The cafe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what city?
In Paramount.
Paramount. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go check you guys out, brother.
Dude, you got to check it out, man.
Yeah, I might even go up there and say some jokes myself.
It's a really fun time.
I think I'm funny, but we'll see what the crowd thinks.
It's awesome, man. We get beginners. We get people that have been doing it for over 10 years. The list goes on and on, but it's a great place to come try out your jokes, and all in all, just to have a good time.
Yeah. That's freaking awesome, bro. I might go this Wednesday, actually. What time do you guys start it?
We start at 9.
9 p.m.?
Yeah, 9 p.m. But, dude, if you wanna sign up, get there at 8:30, because I did the error of doing signups at 8 o'clock, and there's over 10 regulars that show up. And they got there a little bit before 8:30, and like the list was already full.
Dang, how many do they allow? How many comics?
I think I'm gonna start capping at like 25, dude. Because we go.
So it's 5 minutes each.
5 minutes each.
Okay.
So usually
do you host it?
We have guest hosts every week. There's a new host, which is they come to the open mic, they kill it, and if they want a hosting job for the next couple in the next couple of weeks, you know, I ask them, hey, do you want to host? And then they'll host one of the shows. But it's a guest host. I rotate. Sometimes I host. Yeah. Sometimes one of the other co-producers. They host Ricky or James. They'll host. But back to what I was talking about building. Like, how do I do comedy shows? Yeah. How can I do this for the local comedy scene in Southeast Los Angeles? Start an open mic, build that community. Okay, what's the next step? The next step is to start showcasing all of these local comedians that are really funny. Some of the guys that we work with are hilarious. They've done spots for at the Laugh Factory, at the Hollywood Improv, at all these great venues. Yeah. But they need another they need another spot to showcase their talent. And for me, that's how it's always been. I see people and I see the talent that they have, and I just want to give them space. I think that's one of the main things that we do with the Mindbuzz is we see these great people every day online, whether we see them online or we've met them before. Artists, podcasters, athletes, comedians now. I see how great they are, and I just want to reveal them to the world. I want to show them.
I feel the same way,
world.
brother.
You know what I mean? Like when you see somebody and you're like, oh my, like when you see a musician and they barely have like 20 followers on Instagram or whatever the case may be. Oh, I only play at this place. And you listen to them and you hear them and you're just like, you hear how passionate they are, right? And you think everybody needs to know about this. Everybody needs to see them. Everybody needs to hear them. That's how I feel about these group of comedians that are coming every Wednesday. They should be shown to the world. They should be shown to in a larger capacity than just coming to an open mic. There's some guys that have been doing this for a very long time, and nobody has given them a break. I feel that why not? Like I have the power to do that. Like we all as a group, as a community, we have the power to put our minds together, to put our resources together and put on a really good show for artists, for comedy, for musicians. I think that working together with the great resources that we have to showcase artists, and I think you're doing that. You're doing that with your podcast. Everything that you do with the podcast, you're showcasing all these great people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's showcasing their talent. You know, because I feel the same way. You know, I want people to know who you are.
Yeah.
You know, I want people to go to your shows. I want people to support you, because we all are a community. You know, and when someone has a gift and they want to share it to the world, I think they should get all the support in order to do that.
I had this artist friend, man, like I want to say like 3 years ago. I had an artist friend. He is so great at what he does. He is a magnificent painter. He's a magnificent digital artist. And for a very long time, and this is way before the podcast, I would get so upset, like in my mind, and tell him, dude, your shit needs to be all over the world.
Yeah.
And I think just that angst that I had was like, how can I showcase, how can I do this without doing it for him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel you. It's the battle that creatives have. You know, there's, like, I tell people this too, like I'm on the middle, you know, I'm centered. To my left are creatives. These are actors, you know, producers, directors, writers, comics, you know, musicians, dancers. What they want to be seen, and they want to be heard, and they want to showcase their skills, their talent. And then to my right are the executives, the business people, corporations, attorneys, accountants. What they want influence, power, money. So I combine them together. What I do is I find the person that wants to be seen, and then I find the investor, and then I connect them so that they can actually show it to the world. Because the creatives are all they want to do is just do their art.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do.
I can see that.
They just want to do their art. They don't want to worry about numbers and you want me to do all that? Like, no, just show up and do your comedy and then leave.
Bro, dude, I've been battling with this. I am being serious here. I've been battling with that for the past, I want to say 6 months. I've lived in the corporate world for over 10 years, and I don't like meetings. Like, I don't like the business talk. I want to say fuck whenever the fuck I want, right? I want to say shit. I want to say ass. I want to say, you know what I mean? I left that part of myself for a reason. And me and God bless Amber's soul. My partner, she does everything with me. I had a real moment, within the past 6 months, and we were talking about how, okay, who's gonna do what in the project. Yeah. And at a certain point, I told her, I was like, "Can you take the calls now? Like, can you do that?"
You delegated, bro.
Yeah,
I'm great at that, by the way.
Because I love producing. I love being out on the. For instance, it was about this event that I do once a month in the city of Paramount, and it's called Delic Comedy, which is a big. It's like a big roast type of event where we have 5 comics. And there's comedians that go up, do their set. We roast them a little bit. It's all fun. We get a great amount of audience. I set up the bar. I do everything for the production. I set up all the sound equipment, all the recording equipment, all the cameras, all the lighting. I do everything. I set up the bar. I hook up the kegs. I do all the operations for the bar. I set up the lounger. I do everything. And what we were talking about was like, okay, we need to take the call with the venue. I was like, oh my God, that's just one thing that I don't like doing is taking business calls.
Yeah.
And we have to do it, right? But in my mind, I was like, do I really have to? Do I have to do it?
Amber has to.
Exactly. So I think that's one of the things that I thought about with just this happened within this past 6 months is I just want to do my art, and that's production.
Yeah.
I want to create this event. Amber, this is what I want. This is what we want. This is what I need. Here you go. You talk to them and get back to me. Because all I want to do is just, I want to tell jokes and I want to podcast, dude.
Yeah.
And of course, sometimes there are times where I do have to take those business calls myself, and I have to put on that
hat, bro.
That hat, and I'll do it, but I don't like doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to have a team once you start to grow. Because in the beginning it's you doing everything.
Yeah.
You do it all. But once you start to expand in your, in your craft, I guess, then you can always delegate different stuff.
Yeah.
That's why, people have managers, they have agents, they have secretaries, because they don't want to be answering the phone. That's why you have your secretary to do that. They don't want to be doing that. That's why you hire an accountant to do your accounting. I don't want to do that. That's why you have an attorney to do all that. That's why you have a team of people that can help you do the things that you don't want to do. I don't want to wash my car. I'll take it to someone to wash it. I don't want to clean my house. There's a lot of shit I don't want to do. But unfortunately, most artists, when they start off, it's a battle of figuring. This is because I interview artists all the time. Yeah. The dream is doing what I love and being paid enough for me to live off of it. Right. And unfortunately, art is a very, very tricky thing to make it profitable.
I bet,
because it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's subjective. It's subjective. Well, one person looks at something like, what the hell is this piece of shit? And the other person's like, oh my God, that is a $10 million piece of art from this guy from whatever. And you're like, it looks like crap. I would never buy that, It's subjective. Music. So, man, there's musicians that have millions of followers. And I'm like, I don't like that. That doesn't sound good to me. And then other people, you're like, what? This is amazing. But they make not a penny. So it's subjective, and it's like it's fickle. It's like you can feel it, and then it withers away. It's like you have sand in your hand, and then somebody puts water, and it turns into mud. You're like, oh man. So it's very tricky, and you have to line up everything right for it to work. Right. And it's like to keep it going. That's why when I see a successful artist that's been doing what they love for a long time, I commend them, because I know it's really hard to do that. So what I've been noticing now is that a lot of artists have like their goose that lays the golden egg, like their one thing that gives them their financing. and then they use that to fund all of their projects. You know, that's like the current game plan that most people are doing.
Gotcha. So I think I need to create. Me and Amber need to start up a restaurant, because that's what we're getting.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go, brother.
And then use that to fund all my dumb shit.
Your restaurant could be the venue. You know, the venue where we have I've own a comedy, Gil's comedy shop.
I've actually thought about that, dude.
That would be sick, bro.
That's one thing that me and Amber are just, we're two people that have big dreams, and I think that's one of the great things about having a partner that is along the ride for you is we have dreams, we have aspirations, and she's creative, I'm creative. She likes taking business calls, I don't like taking business calls.
That's perfect already.
And what we talk about is she's great behind the kitchen. Her and her family's business has blossomed to this beautiful thing, and her background and my background in food and beverage, and I think that's one thing that we have down the road for us is coming up with a concept and doing all these great things with it.
Hell yeah, brother!
Yeah, I'm excited.
Hell yeah, dude! Sounds like you have a plan.
We're getting there. Yeah, as long as she can take the business calls. Yeah, I think we'll be good.
So, what's the future for Mindbuzz and for Gil? What are you working on now? Is there any upcoming shows that you want to promote? And what is your dream, brother?
Well, the podcast is the podcast. It's the Mindbuzz podcast on YouTube. We host live podcast interviews every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. And if they're not on Tuesday nights, they are on Thursday nights. And then you can find that podcast at Mindbuzz Media on YouTube, and find us on Instagram and all that good stuff. I do all clips and all that fun stuff. But as far as that, dude, it's podcasting and stand-up comedy. I love comedy. I love comedy. You can find me at that weekly mic on Wednesdays, and I pop in at open mics in the Inland Empire in Ontario, Claremont. You find me in Hollywood, LA. Follow me on Instagram. I'm everywhere. I go everywhere where there is comedy. I love comedy. I love talking to comedians. I love interviewing comedians.
I do have a question about that. What's that? For your comedy, did you have like a mentor to help you on creating, jokes, or how did you go about it? Did you just say, fuck it, let me just try it and just say some jokes and see if they work or not? Or is there like a strategy behind, crafting a joke, or, to say?
At the beginning, dude, I just watched a lot of comedy. Yeah. I watched a lot of stand-up specials. Kill Tony is a podcast that I listen to all the freaking time. I engulfed myself into comedy, and I try to think. I've always thought of funny every place I went to, like every moment of my life. I need to turn it off because Amber gets tired of it. Amber gets really. I find the funny in everything, even though other people don't think it's funny. I think it's funny. Yeah. Right. But I think that's just it. You have to like what we talked about at the top of this podcast is turning tragedy or everyday life, everyday mundane things in life. They have some comedy to them. And for me, the trick was to just write what I think was funny. Write what I think is funny. And of course I listen to, I'm a nerd, dude. I listen to books on how to write funny. Which Scott Dickers is probably his volumes on how to write funny, called How to Write Funny, How to Write Funny, and then How to Write Funniest, or 3-volume books.
You read the whole books?
I read all of them.
Dang.
Probably twice.
Yeah.
And in those books, he teaches you how to write stand-up. And from there, I listened to other books on how to perform stand-up.
Okay.
So I used what I could and practice those in everyday life.
Yeah.
And once I felt that, holy crap,
I think I got it.
This is working.
Yeah.
But from there, the process doesn't end. You have to keep showing up and showing up and showing up and crafting it, because you could write one thing, you can go up there and see if it's funny, and it's really not. You have to keep working at it, dude. I think for me, the process is where I like it right now.
Yeah. That's
what's happening. So that's just, it's a boring process. It takes time, but
that's what people don't get. They don't get it. They just see the comic there performing, like, oh, he must be a natural.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's just a funny guy. You know, they see the musician, like, oh wow, they were born that way. They don't know the hours and hours of playing and practicing and trying and failing and bombing and like all of the work that took to get to the point where you're finally being recognized. So again, brother, I want to commend you for all the work that you're doing and have done, for the gift of allowing others to showcase their art and their talents. And guys, make sure to follow my brother on Instagram, on YouTube, on all of the podcast platforms. Make sure to follow Psilo Talk and Dreams to Reality, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace out. See ya.
Yeah.
The grass not as green, the sky's not as blue, the stars not as bright when I'm not with you. I just need you back.